We are in a world where this device right here, is taking over a lot of our communication. And it's an awesome device. It's an awesome device. But it's also a very dangerous device for you, your family, and your business. You, your family, and your business, because this is the separator of humanity, used incorrectly. And I showed you that graph earlier because we are getting hypnotized into that device. There's a reason there's an I in front of it. It's called iPhone, and you heard about it, because it focuses on you. See, that whole device is customized, it's programmed for you. And the more you use this and are not aware, the more you're using this and not aware, see, the more time you spend on this and your email, the less neural networks of relational connection are present. When you get in front of this screen and you get in front of that email, there's areas in your brain that shut off when it comes to relationships, comes to relating. And the more you train yourself to rely on this as your primary tool, the more you're dulling your senses. There's a University of Michigan study. Who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Okay. I was like, wow, there's like a frog in here. That shows empathy. I believe it's now reduced 30% in the last 20 years. It's 30 or 40% in the last 20 years. Think about that. That's from college seniors. The biggest drop in empathy is the last 10 years. What do you think's happened in the last 10 years? Technology, my friends. Not bad, I love it. I've got all the gear, all the devices. But here's the thing. Just know when you're texting and emailing, you're missing voice tone and body language. So whatever your internal state is, you are projecting that on the words you are processing, and then you are reacting, and this is when the biggest cluster F starts. Because now we're not even clear, we're guessing, and then the guessing starts going back and forth. Hey, I'm going to dinner, can you meet me over here? That doesn't matter. When you start talking about business relationship, personal relationships, and folks, if you've got kids, I don't even want to start with the data, how painful the data is. But the last data on texting, sending and receiving is about 3,000 to 4,000 for the average teen. Here's where it gets real scary. For me in my age group, like 28, that's a joke. In my 50s, that means when I grew up, I didn't have any of this. I just started using computers. So my social network, the areas of my brain that predicts empathy, and there's a thing called mirror neurons. Mirror neurons are neurons that are in the brain that actually predict behavior. So if I was going to go like this, you go, oh, he's going to drink water. But they're also the neurons that create empathy. So when we're connecting with another human being and we're present, we can see, oh, sad, happy, glad. When we go into technology, it's very difficult for mirror neurons to fire. It has to be extremely, extremely articulated words to create the emotion in our head, but it's very low. So I want you to get this. So kids are having a majority of their interaction on technology. So they're not developing the social network to understand and have empathy. So that's why, for teens today, there's more anti-anxiety and depression medication than in the history of our culture. The history of our culture. But it's not just for kids, it's for us too. We have those as adults in our late 30s, 40s, 50s and up. But when we're using technology a lot and we're using email a lot, it shuts it off. So if you don't use it, what happens? You lose it. So if you're texting and emailing all day and all of a sudden you're going to have a face-to-face or a phone call, you're already at a disadvantage. That network's not lit up. Not that you can't get it lit up. So the head-heart-body process we went through is a great idea. just a conversation, I'm actually going to talk to a human being now, is another great idea, just to get yourself fired up. But just know that technology does have its dark side. There was a period of time where I was a teacher at teen retreats in mindfulness, and in those retreats, they're a week long, and they surrendered all their technology. These are 13 to 17-year-olds. They're a week-long retreat. They turn in their iPhones, and half the retreat, by the way, half the kids don't know this, is in silence. And about 4 to 6 hours of meditation. So you can imagine, I remember the first retreat I was teaching on. We're in this kind of meditation hall. It was up in Ojai. And the main instructor said, okay, so here's how it's going to go. And then they found out that half the time they were going to be in silence. And it looked like they were in an episode of Punk'd. They were like, what? Like, they were just, you could see, like, are they joking? Is this a joke? You see these new commercials right now, 22 minutes without the internet, 27 minutes, I'm just laughing. But here's the beauty of it. Here's the good news of the humanity and how we are wired by the law of nature that I talked about when we started. There's something called the 3-day effect. I read about it like in a science journal or something, and it was just in the back of my head. So I started teaching on these team retreats. So you meditate, there's activities, there is social time, but half the time is silent. At 8 o'clock at night, no talking till 7 o'clock in the morning. And then mind you, it's 13 to 17-year-olds. So it was day 3 of the event, this retreat. And I was in there meditating with the kids, and then I saw it. I saw 40 to 50 kids sitting on a mat that had never meditated before, meditating for 20, 30, 40 minutes at a time. No one was asking for their phone. No one was asking for their game, their video. No, it wasn't happening. No one was, could I just get my, it was gone. Now, I'm with these kids 24/7, so it wasn't like, well, I was just around them 10 minutes, facilitated small groups. The desire for the phone was replaced by human connection. These are kids. Because ultimately, what we want to do is connect. So if it's in a sale, if it's in a relationship, if it's with a neighbor or a stranger, we want to connect. Would you agree? Yes. And that's what we're starving for. We're overwhelmed with information and starving for wisdom. You have the opportunity, as you've been going through this process, to make a difference for you, your community, the planet, your business, by how you show up. Because the more you're present with yourself, the more you'll see other people. I have an entertainment client that was with the Jimmy Kimmel Show, and he was thinking about doing a documentary a while ago on this topic, and we were talking. He said, Stephen, so what's the big deal about multitasking and using the phone? And this is a couple of years ago. It's gotten way worse. And I said, forget about all the research. Just forget about it. And there's tons of it now. Here's the thing I personally know and have seen over and over. When I'm present with myself, I am a much kinder human being to other human beings. That's what I know. I know when I'm not doing this and doing that, I see people. I have the opportunity to be of service to them. I also have the opportunity to receive from other human beings. You know, I was walking over and there was somebody working out in the gym and I was kind of a little bit of meditation. I just looked up and caught a glance and there was a smile. It was awesome. Because we're missing that. Our kids are missing that. Our clients are missing that. That was just a 1 second that just gave me that, wow, I'm here. We're all part of something. Part of something bigger than we are. But it all starts with communication. So my suggestion is just do a review of how you're using your technology. First of all, for you and your family. Then how are you doing it in your business? When I work with families, I always suggest that they make a technology agreement for the family. Mom and dad make an agreement, and then make an agreement with how we use it in the family. It's part of my list of agreements when I work with couples. Because mom and dad have to be on the same page. I want to tell one quick story about this, and then we're going to move on to the last segment, and that's productivity tools and tips and tricks. Things that will actually accelerate your productivity. That's what we're going to finish off with. So one of my good friends, their family stayed with me a couple of years ago. Mom and dad and their young daughter, Sophia. Kind of like an extended family from Hawaii. And Sophia was playing around, and she cut her finger. And she's 3, it was actually I think she was about 2.5. It was the first time I think she saw blood. And I was at home, and her mom was there, and I heard kind of the screaming and crying, and I was like, what happened? And the first thing Sophia did was say, Daddy, 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 Daddy. And Daddy wasn't home, and Mom was there, and the next thing I heard was this. iPad, iPad, iPad. No joke. Mom's a great mom. She's a great mom. But she had been conditioned already that was the electronic pacifier. But she did ask me a year before. One of the things that was happening is she would have a lot of anxiety, her daughter driving, maybe 6 months ago, and she asked me, do you think it's a good idea that I give the iPad to calm her down? And I said, I'm not a parent, so I'm not going to judge you, but I'm going to tell you what it's going to do over and over. We don't even know. See, we don't even have enough technology yet to determine how it's going to happen. But what I'll tell you is that when the screen comes in, it then becomes the pacifier. But here's the real danger. That becomes the coping mechanism on stress while the brain's wiring. See, the brain isn't wiring on self-soothing, it's externally getting a force to calm itself. So while the brain is developing, that is developing it. So what do you think what happens when a 16 or 17-year-old has anxiety? Why do you think all these addictions are happening? So I share that story with you, just the impact of technology, and technology is awesome. What we can do with it, how we actually can connect more, if we're conscious of it and use it in the right way, it is an unbelievable tool for relationships, Skype, all this stuff. We can connect to different countries, we can be related, we can have dialogue, so it's great. But know how you're using it. Know how you're using it. I had a office on the west side of Los Angeles, and it was getting to the point where people that were 5 miles away would take them 40 minutes to get to my office. And it was one of the ways I transitioned my whole business, that my one-on-one coaching, like 90% of my coaching is through Skype. And when I started my coaching career like 17 years ago in this area, I was doing a lot of phone coaching. So I had started actually not face-to-face with half my clients. Then it went all face-to-face. And now it's like 90% unless I'm traveling or they're local, I'm working. It's Skype. Is it as good as face-to-face? It's pretty close. It's pretty close. But it's interesting. It depends on the connection. Because you can be on Skype and it's just like you can't see it, you can't hear it. So the connection, the technology of the technology has a big part of that. But I will tell you, you're here in 3D. When you get to Skype, there's a dimension that's gone. And so it does alter it. It's not the same, but if you ask me, this is it better than somebody not being in front of me? It's way better. And it's better than the phone. But just even know on the phone, if you do a lot of phone work, the phone is powerful because it forces you to get better at listening. When I said 25,000 hours of listening and coaching at the beginning of my career, that was not an exaggeration. I started coaching in the physical world when I was 18 years old. I'm 52. That means I've had a full-time coaching career for 33 plus years. And I went from being more visual, we're talking about styles, where my primary way when I want to really connect, it's auditory now. That changed. It can change because I relied on listening. I was still watching, but listening. So good and acceptable, but still face-to-face. Because you have a heartfelt connection. There's the exchange of energy and information that happens. As soon as you put any technology, it's going to alter a little bit. But to me, it's the best one.